supply chainers, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our LinkedIn Live brought to you by Esker, the global cloud platform built to unlock strategic value for finance, procurement, and customer service professionals. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, Blended Podcast, Blended Pledge, and the Secret Society of Supply Chain. And I'm excited to be here with you today because we are talking about a very, very hot topic and something I've been talking about for a very long time. And today I'm joined by Sarah and Matt from Esker. And I had Dan Reeve on the show back in May, and he gave us a really great introduction to Esker. So anyone who missed that, make sure to go and check it out on Let's Talk Supply Chain website or YouTube channel or anywhere else that you subscribe to the show. It was episode 337. So Sarah and Matt, we want to get to know you as well. So can each of you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what you do at Esker, and give us a bit of a reminder as to who is Esker, what you do, and how you help your customers. I'll start with you, Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sarah, for having us. Very excited for today. Very excited for the topics we're about to unpack. Been with Esker here for just over 4 years. I'm a business development manager, and my role, Sarah, is helping businesses to their desired outcomes of removing those manual efforts, really looking to increase visibility, efficiencies around orders, just communication with customers in general. That is really imperative in the world we find ourselves in.
Amazing. I'm so glad that you're here. Matt, you're up next.
Awesome. Appreciate you having us on the show today. Yeah, similar role to Sarah. I'm a business development manager here at Esker, focusing on our customer service solutions. Been with Esker about a decade now. And in my personal life, I play old man basketball. Got a big game tonight, so wish me luck, guys. As far as, what Esker does, though, we help companies improve basically any process inside of their source to pay and order to cash business processes. Really focusing on automating the tasks that computers are, really good at, and then elevating, the people on the finance and customer service teams to excel at tasks that people are good at.
Yeah.
So, for example, when we're automating, manual data entry for inbound orders, a customer service team can then devote more time to cross-selling, upselling, and proactive customer service.
Amazing. I love that. And I love the fact that we're bringing supply chains and customer service together, especially B2B customer service. I talk about collaboration being the future of business, and I've been talking about how supply chain operations impact customer service for a long time now. And now we can bring the two topics together and really drive some of that conversation and innovation. So supply chain operations and the customer experience have long been connected, like I just mentioned, but evolving customer demands combined with a huge array of ongoing disruptions is putting a huge amount of pressure on businesses in general. And it's becoming increasingly clear that they need to think more holistically and strategically about the relationship between supply chains and B2B customer service teams. Because in a competitive market, failure to deliver a consistent and responsive customer experience can really result in big impacts. So why is outstanding customer service increasingly important to supply chain excellence? What are the most common business challenges that impact customer service and supply chain? And how exactly can AI and automation help to tackle these issues, optimize processes, and set your organization up for sustainable success? Now, we are going to answer all of these questions in the discussion today. But remember, we want to know where you are watching from. So let us know in the comments. Let us know any questions that you might have during the show. I know that this is a hot topic, so let us know your questions throughout the show. We'll try to get to them. If not, we'll get to them at the end of the discussion. Plus, we are giving away an ebook, 5 Reasons Supply Chain Leaders Should Care About B2B Customer Service Automation. And so if you didn't click the attend button, make sure to comment today so that we can make sure that we can send you that ebook. So let's start by talking about customer experience. How has the focus on customer experience changed? Because I mean, so many industries, not just supply chain, seem to have moved from almost an apathetic approach to customers to now putting them at the heart of strategies and using phrases like delight and empowering their customers. What's your perspective, Matt?
Yeah, appreciate that question. So B2B companies, I think they're waking up maybe to realizing that if they fail to deliver consistent and responsive customer experience, they're really opening themselves up to lost business. People experience the Amazon-like experience in their personal lives, and they want sort of a similar experience in the B2B world. Um, but at the same time, they want you to be able to work in whatever medium they want you to. So that might be like an e-commerce portal, or it could be a
Mhm.
self-service portal. Maybe it's EDI, whatever it is, you got to meet them there. Often we see folks, they don't want to do double work. So what we see is procurement solutions are spitting out PDF documents and they just want to email them over. And you got to take that order. And obviously that causes a lot of manual work for your team. Um, so they want an easy process. They don't want to have to change. And, a customer of ours noted that really one of the biggest impacts their solution had was that it drove automation of sort of that entry, and their customers didn't have to change at all. So it was a really positive experience for both their internal team and their customers, just having that transparency, that same experience. And that's kind of the default now, I would say. Like that's kind of like the bare minimum you gotta come with these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And customer experience obviously is crucial to having those customers come back and buy from you again. And supply chains have a really big impact on that. So, why has it all changed? I mean, we've seen the importance of the pandemic in the B2C market. What are the factors that have had influence in the B2B space? Matt, I'm going to start with you and then we're going to go
hmm
to Sarah.
Yeah, I really think that people are realizing they can demand a lot more from businesses, both consumer wise and their B2B relationships. I mean, if they can quit you and if you're not providing a good experience, I mean, people will quit you if they can. If they see you like a commodity, they'll treat you like one. So I
Mhm.
think providing an elite customer experience keeps your customers loyal, and it helps kind of transition you from maybe a commodity type provider to more like you're a trusted business partner.
Mhm.
And expanding your footprint inside of a customer base helps keep that loyalty growing. I think helping equip your team with the tools they need to help improve that customer experience, helps promote revenue growth,
Mhm.
helps improve your supply chain resiliency by reducing errors, helping everyone increase visibility both internally and with your customers, even helping reduce employee churn, you know, and avoiding
Mhm.
pitfalls of poor communication, which can lead to those unhappy customers.
Well, and it creates that feedback loop, which we need to really dial in the innovation and understand what our customers, how they think about us, what they want from us. And that kind of feedback translates into other departments like marketing, supply chain operations, etc. Sarah, what do you think about this?
I think the biggest thing is that you must be collaborative. If you can't meet your customers' expectations, and that's just the world we find ourselves in, sometimes we're not able to, you must give them options. I think if you could give them other product offerings, I think if you can give them maybe a timeline that's not ideal, but still meets their expectation, I think by being proactive in this space and bringing it front of mind and speaking it, I think it's imperative. You don't have the ability in today's world to be reactive. And those that find themselves reacting are often failing. So, I mean, no one wants to hear excuses. I think just being truthful allows for your customers to walk away knowing that they have an option, they have the power to decide, and ideally still have the ability to trust you and have confidence in what you're offering in that
Mhm.
relationship.
Trust is such a key point, right? And a lot of brands are looking for that trust. And a lot of that boils down to supply chain operations
Mhm.
influencing customer experience, but also the other way around. Because I go back to what I said about feedback. If we can give the feedback from the customers to the supply chain operations, and it goes to what you said about options, think about giving them delivery options. right? Do you need it same day? Can you take it next day? Is it okay if we deliver it a week from now, where somebody actually has options to be able to decide when they want something delivered? Just as an example of that feedback loop and some of the innovation that you can create to keep customers. So, Sarah, how is this change towards a greater focus on customer experience? How is that impacting businesses right now?
I think it's about empowering your customer service teams and more importantly, just your customer service teams, your supply chain, just in general, to work together, to collaborate. As there's a lot of turnaround in these areas, realistically, these positions can be very stressful.
Mhm.
I think giving your employees the option to feel valued and as though they can succeed, not like they're coming into this daunting task
Yes.
of trying to complete something and it's an uphill battle that they're just not going to be able to conquer. I think this allows then for your members within your organization to shift their focus. They're proactively outreaching to their customers. They're maybe even having more collaboration between the departments as to how to do things more effectively. I think it just creates a greater win, greater efficiency, and definitely greater accuracy.
Yeah, it brings the team together, right? It empowers that communication factor where we need to bring everybody's heads together to try to figure out the pathway forward. And so when we think about this from a business standpoint, this also must be impacting the industry overall as well. Matt, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I keep going back to the idea of a trusted business partner. Proactively seeing if your customers, like maybe they typically place a big order during a month. You notice that they missed it for this reason, this month, or rather, or you notice an anomaly in their order. Sometimes we see that there's fraud. Like some people might be trying to impersonate a business and trying to get you to ship to a fake location and charge your other
Oof.
business, your customer's business for that. It's helping prevent fraud or even just a simple fat fingering mistake of 100 instead of 1,000 or 1,000 instead of 100. Being proactive there and being seen as a true business partner. Also, just generally automating tasks, freeing up your team's time to have some of those personal touch points and allowing your team to sort of have their heads above water and really developing those personal relationships and growing the relationships inside of the businesses that you work with. you know and lastly, you know people work across time zones. um, where are they in the world versus where are you when your staff is like in the office. So offering self-service portals and empowering teams across time zones to do business with you when it makes sense for them, I think that's an important trend as well.
Well, it's such a global industry. That's a great point, right? We're such a global industry. We have, operations that are happening all over the place. And you're right. We need to be able to communicate not only with less acronyms. First of all, I was going to mention that after you mentioned what you said, Sarah, about communication. I was like, less acronyms when we're talking to each other because customer service isn't really gonna understand that. But yeah, across the time zones and really understanding, the differences and the challenges that they're facing in operations maybe in Europe versus what we're facing in North America. Sarah, what would you say as an industry overall? I also think too is that, as an industry, if we've got a lot of folks focusing on customer experience, right? Really automating that, that's going to set them apart from a competitive advantage. And we're really going to see that disparate within the industry.
Absolutely, sorry. I could not agree, any more on that. I think by adding technology and adding these types of options to your company, it allows for you to personalize that experience, in a world where you might not get a second chance with that vendor customer relationship if you
True.
get it wrong. I
Yeah.
think that you need to put safeguards in place that allow for you to recognize, sentiments, and we'll talk, more about that, I'm sure, within this conversation today. But recognizing what people need when they need it, recognizing the opportunity, as Matt stated, the global component, being able to ship to an address and getting it right. Because if you don't get it right, it erodes your profitability, it damages that relationship,
Yeah.
and you might not get a chance to correct it.
Yeah, I think it's that reputation, right? That brand reputation that's really at risk when we think about not doing it right, not automating, not bringing these really crucial departments together. So while external turmoil such as market volatility, talent shortages, or environmental disasters can significantly affect your supply chain, they're not really controllable factors. I mean, we can put risk mitigation into place, but we can't control them. But what we can control are the customer service processes in place that often have a direct correlation to supply chain performance. So there's 6 key areas, as far as I understand, that we should really focus our attention on. So let's talk one by one about those core challenges when we're working with manual process. So let's talk about errors first. Sarah, I'm going to go to you to start us off.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. I think our customers are telling us that the ship to details have become more complex.
Mhm.
Where inventory is being pulled from is becoming front of mind. A lot of businesses that we work with are adding in warehouses so that they can more effectively meet those demands of their customers, getting it next day, maybe same day scenarios, as you've stated earlier. And our customers want those orders fulfilled fast, and they want them done at a decreased cost. The business making that delivery wants to do it at a decreased cost as well. Obviously, if
Yeah.
you can do so, it's a win-win. But matching where those warehouses are pulling the inventory from becomes a game changer then. And if there's a shipping error, and if you um, are fortunate enough to catch it, great. There's still potentially a delay, obviously pulling back that inventory, getting out the correct inventory. But if you don't get a second chance, think about the cost of that mistake. You're maybe dealing with, as I stated, pulling back inventory. Maybe it's a situation where it's canceled outright, so you're losing that revenue. Maybe it's a situation where you've now just lost the relationship. And
Mhm.
because it's front of mind and there's frustration on the part of that customer, maybe they're telling other people. So I liken it to
No.
I liken it
No. We don't want that.
no, you don't. But I liken it, Sarah, to think of it like a banking relationship. If you
Mhm.
are to make too many negative withdrawals, trust that's eroded because of those mistakes, and you're
Yep.
not making enough positive deposits, getting those orders
Mm.
right and getting them done right the first time, you will lose the business.
Yeah, it's like not paying a minimum payment, right, on
Mhm.
your credit card for a couple of months or something like that. You kind of lose your privileges. All right, Matt, what do you think about errors?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I think just, Sarah did a great job delving in there, but I think just, quantity and pricing errors when you're introducing human element to that with a manual data entry, you're gonna have those. And, when those happen, you have to think about like how costly are these to your business? It's a simple, one keystroke mistake maybe, but what are the impacts downstream? It takes you the time to reprocess those orders.
Mhm.
Maybe you need to issue a credit, for example. You got to reship the correct goods and perhaps pay for expedited shipping to get the product there in a timely fashion. So you got to think past just the individual error and think about the global impact that those can introduce, and then think about how can automation lead us to a reduction of those types of errors.
Absolutely. And just a reminder to everybody watching, we are going to be giving you an ebook. So make sure that you comment if you didn't click the attend button. If you've just joined us, make sure you comment. Let us know where you're from if you have any questions so that we can send that ebook to you. But I also want to know, what challenges are you facing right now? And some of the challenges we're going to talk about, we just talked about errors, poor communication, unhappy customers, high costs, lack of visibility, and employee churn. So if you're experiencing any of those right now, I really want to hear from you in the comments as we talk through some of these challenges as well. So the next one is poor communication. Sarah, talk to us about this key area.
Oh, yeah. Poor communication starts with, is there communication at all?
That's
Oftentimes,
true.
the order is submitted, it's being processed. Best case scenario, got from the customer service team over to supply chain to be fulfilled. but the customers started that weight game. And there, in a world where Amazon is able to give you those details and you're able to track it and watch where the truck is, I think it's so important also due to, increased wait times that you're effectively communicating from the beginning of the process through the process. So for me, it's big that, and significant enough that I think pivoting to tools that allow for you to give notification of shipping, give tracking details, give even just simply the confirmation of the order, they're needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything to add to that, Matt?
Yeah, I think Sarah nailed it. But on top of that, offering a tool that kind of gives your customers a place to check status and provide them a source of truth for their interactions with you. Like if everything is always email based, things can get lost in the shuffle. If you can provide them with a portal or some sort of tracking system to allow them to be able to check in at their convenience to kind of understand where these different orders or shipments are, that's important in 2023.
Absolutely. Now, what about unhappy customers, Sarah?
I think there's two real big risks in this area. I think the customers order less, or maybe they stop ordering altogether. So
Mhm.
I think that's a big
And you won't
risk.
know.
No, and by the time that's happened, they've likely found another vendor that they're preferencing,
Mhm.
and pulling them back is going to be a challenge. I think that these same customers, if they're frustrated, if they're feeling pain over orders not being fulfilled or fulfilled fast enough, you're
Mhm.
going to hear from them, and you're going to hear from them often, because they want their pain solved yesterday. They want their product yesterday.
Mhm. And what about lack of visibility? Now, Matt, you kind of addressed this when we were talking about unhappy customers, right? I mean, it's kind of the same thing. They want to see where their goods are. And if we're not giving them enough information as to where it is, then we're going to have unhappy customers. Talk to us about lack of visibility.
Yeah, so as far as lack of visibility, I mean, sometimes with what we see today, we call it the shared inbox black hole. So you get all these emails coming into a common shared inbox, and often what happens is that folks have a system in place, or they say they do, to see who's doing what activity. But really, often you can have some of these slip through the cracks, and
Hmm.
if one of them slips through the cracks, and that's your email or that's your inquiry, and as a customer, that's going to lead to unhappiness and dissatisfaction, of course. Or on the other hand, like internally, sometimes we see multiple people are in the inbox working the same type of inquiry or order. So now you're doing double work, or perhaps doing double order entry into a system, and that could lead to its own unhappy effects of a double bill or a double order. Um, and on top of that, if you don't have the visibility, you might be missing SLAs. Like, are you even tracking it? Do you even know if you're missing your SLAs?
Hmm.
That might lead to inaccurate demand planning if you're not getting these orders and inquiries in a timely manner, and your distribution centers might not be able to have that visibility like easily
Hmm.
into what's happening there either. So if you don't have those tools in place to highlight that information and inform the right people, that lack of visibility can definitely lead to unhappiness with your customers.
Yeah, I feel like as we're talking about this and talking about manual processes that create some challenges, all I keep thinking about is, Excel spreadsheets being uploaded and downloaded and emailed and uploaded and downloaded and emailed. And it kind of makes my head spin. So I want to know from the audience, out of all of these challenges, these manual processes, which ones are you doing manually right now? Because I can only imagine how many emails, how many times you download, how many uploads, if you counted the number that you were doing on a daily basis, what those numbers would be. Now, the last but not least on the manual processes that create challenges is employee churn. I'm going to go to you, Matt, and then back to you, Sarah.
Yeah, so certainly, we talked about all these different things that can lead to unhappiness, and who gets to interact with those unhappy customers? Your lovely customer service agents, right?
Hmm.
So if you're dealing with unhappy people and those are the only people you're talking to, it makes the job tough. Like, it weighs on people over time. I mean, there's high turnover and lower job satisfaction in those roles often when they're kind of just stuck dealing with angry customers and doing manual tasks of data entry. They're constantly below water or maybe at best treading water,
Yeah.
and empowering teams with tools that allow them to do those more interesting and fulfilling activities to allow them to kind of uh, just remove them from just the data entry in them. And it's, I mean, I
So
don't I mean,
monotonous. Upload
yeah,
and
it
download.
is, it is. So giving those tools to grow into impactful roles, or at least carve part of their day out for that more meaningful work, can go a long way to reducing that employee churn.
Absolutely. Sarah?
I think one thing that we have to keep in mind is that risk of losing people. And if you lose people, with it, you lose their knowledge. And I think
Hmm.
one way to safeguard yourself against, and I think a lot of businesses saw that with COVID in the last few years, there was a lot of people that probably moved to retirement quicker than they anticipated, is that technology allows for you to own the process in a way that you understand what's happening with that customer, or you're understanding what's happening between that business relationship, because everything's more centralized. And I think it gives you the opportunity to transition to a new person, because new people come in all the time,
Hmm.
and to do it seamlessly, and not to create friction with that change.
Yeah, and I was having a discussion. I was in Houston. I think it was last week. I can't keep note of where I've been because I've traveled so much in the last couple of weeks. But I was in Houston at a cybersecurity conference around transportation, and one of the interviews that we had was around that topic: is that you need the tribal knowledge as well as the technology, and you need them to work together, because the technology is only as good as the information that you give it. And the tribal knowledge is really important to have in a situation where you might not have technology. And so you really need to have both to really make an impact on the businesses.
Mhm.
So, with that in mind, what impacts are these challenges, the errors, the poor communication, the unhappy customers, high costs, having on individual businesses, Matt?
Yeah, we talked to our customer CMP Medical. I mean, just kind of think about how it impacted them. You know, they're implementing a solution like an automation solution like an Esker. For them, it allowed their team's day-to-day life to improve a lot. Kind of switching their customer service representatives from data entry people, where they're spending 5 minutes on an order at just manual data entry, to a true customer service person. Taking that 10 to 30 seconds to validate an order as opposed to manually entering it, and giving them that time gained back in their day to actually provide that customer service and proactively reach out and engage with customers. And that'll allow them to kind of achieve the ambitious growth goals that they have planned in the coming years.
Yeah, just think about the customer retention you can do if you have enough time to really reach out to them on a personalized basis as well,
Mhm.
right? Rushdie actually corroborates what you just said. Time to time, we need to process reports so many times in a day that they need improvement by AI for data processing, because it makes them feel, like they can do other things rather than just processing data on a day-to-day basis. Sarah, what about the industry as a whole?
I think there's a lot of similarity between business and industry as the whole. I think about conversations I have outside of what I do with friends and with family, and the
Mhm.
experiences that we expect with the decisions we make and the products that we buy and the service providers that we interact with. And it all comes down to, the time savings, the opportunity to receive what we want without the risk of there being an error associated to it, having visibility on that decision and its outcome. And I think as costs continue to grow, we've seen obviously inflation impacting so many businesses and so many individuals. I think getting it right quickly and the first time obviously goes a long way to the success of one's business.
Yep.
And I think as customers are interacted with, I think about my own personal purchasing behaviors. I think if something's put in front of me and I can see
Mhm,
value for whatever that item is, I'm more likely to buy it. So if we can
mhm.
proactively outreach to our customers that maybe have fallen off, aren't purchasing as much or as often, make them aware of maybe new products, I think comes back to communication being key. Time is a commodity, something we don't have enough of. Most people struggle with it. So
Mhm.
if we can give back time on both sides, the receiving part and the part that's giving of it, I think there's a greater acceptance for what's being offered. And I just think technology and allowing technology to kind of interject and make some of those recommendations or guide is the way of the future.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give you an example as well. Too many times when I'm calling into a potential platform that we're using and I need to ask a question about something, I feel like too many times we're going back and forth through a chat bot or by email. If I could just pick up the phone and have a conversation with somebody, I'd get it done in 5 minutes rather than over 3 days. And I feel like technology can really help with their day to day to give them more opportunity to have me on the phone and keep me longer as a customer, just as an example. Right? I think technology, as long as it's used in a way that we can empower and enhance the employees to give them some time to talk to somebody like me to keep the business, I think is kind of priceless. Now, you say that 5 and 6 organizations feel ill-equipped to accommodate the new supply chain paradigm. So why is that, Matt?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think it comes down to that here in 2023, you know, things are changing quickly. You need to be as agile as your customers' changing needs are, really. And I think why 5 and 6 organizations feel that way is because either they don't have the right business processes in place, or if they do, then they don't have the right technology to support them. So
Mhm.
regardless of which one they're missing, I feel like, you know, that's the core of it is something's out of line and they're not moving quickly enough to adapt in today's environment.
Yeah, something's just not working. What do you think, Sarah? I mean, you talk to a lot of people about technology, what they're going through. Why is it that 5 and 6 organizations just aren't ready for this?
I think the processes around providing services or products, it's unique that it has to be touched a lot, and it often requires multiple departments to get it right.
Mhm.
And because there's so many different moving pieces and you need the ability to loop everybody in, you can loop people in, but if it's not a centralized process and a process that you can fall back on and review, again, it goes back to a previous comment I made where if people move on, where is that information being housed? I think you put yourself at risk.
Yeah, well, and I think also really everybody on the team, that's part of the discussion, understanding the opportunities and the benefits, right? So if technology comes in and helps me with these particular tasks, what are your expectations of what I'm going to do for the rest of the day? Right? We have to lay that out there. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how technology can start bridging that gap. What are the opportunities that it can bring, Matt?
Yeah, so I think really one thing we hear a lot about is like a single pane of glass. That's a common
Single source
buzzword.
of truth. Is
There you
that
go.
the same thing?
There you go. There you go, for sure. So, there's so many disparate systems and being able to pull that into one central location and taking that information from all those different areas so that you can aggregate it and distribute it to the right people and respond in kind to your customers in a timely fashion. That's definitely a way we see technology bridging the gap. Um, as far as automation of manual processes, really, I come back to there's some things that computers are really good at. Let's use technology to do those things. On the other side of the coin, there's that tribal knowledge. There's other things that people are really good
Yeah.
at. That proactive customer service, reaching out to customers, developing that relationship. Let's give them the time to empower those types of activities. Um, again, you reduce the errors, you free up time to be proactive, upsell, cross sell, maybe even allow time for individual career development to reduce that employee churn. Technology provides really all of that. And some customers I talk to, they kind of see their customer service department as kind of like a proving ground for like,
Okay.
is this person legit? Like, can they succeed at this company? And if so, like they allow them to work on, a special project here, special project there. If all their time is spent doing manual data entry tasks and they don't have time to be able to do that type of work. So,
Yeah.
technology frees up that, professional development as well.
I love that because, obviously we're talking about also the opportunity to upskill, but also show the skills that we bring to the table, which sometimes, like you said, if we're doing data processing, how are you going to know what that person is potentially capable of? Sarah, what do you think about the opportunities?
I think it's an opportunity to allow for you to bring newer staff up to speed. I
Mhm.
think it can be challenging for new hires to not only understand the nuances of an ERP, but also the specific processes of one's organization. And, as one of our customers had stated, to train a new employee at Esker is so much easier than training them how to use the ERP.
Okay.
So, again, these systems are oftentimes challenging because they're specific to the organization. They could be antiquated or dated. So I think, technology is what the younger population wants. I think a lot of those coming into the environment, almost expect it.
Well, and they want to really understand the role rather than just do the work. They want to be able to bring new ideas. They want to be able to bring
Mhm,
innovation. They want to have the time to make an impact and have their day to day be
mhm.
meaningful. Right.
Yep.
And so now we're going to talk about AI and automation and how that can really take us to the next level. Now, this is crucial. I had Pervinder on Thoughts and Coffee just yesterday, and he was saying that everybody that he's talking to right now is asking him whether they should use AI and all the way up to the C suite, right? Use AI, use automation, how to use it. And so
Mhm.
I think this is really an important part of the discussion. And so as we go through all of the 6 key problem areas, I'm going to show everybody the ebook that we're going to be sending to everybody who has joined us today, who's clicked the attend button. So again, if you've just joined us, make sure you put a comment into the comment bar so that we can send you this ebook. And if you have any questions, make sure to put those in the comments as well, because we're going to get to those very, very quickly. So let's talk about AI and automation and how it's going to take us to the next level and really give teams the tools they need to tackle the 6 key problem areas we've talked about, right? So, Sarah, I'm going to start with you around increased speed. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think the first thing it does is it gives you the opportunity to classify incoming inquiries with greater efficiency. Natural language processing algorithms, that's going to allow for those incoming emails to take over that classification or routing task. It's going to allow for orders to be processed. It's going to allow for appropriate follow up and inquiries upon those inquiries to be segmented out and for CSRs to follow up on them individually. I think also what that does is if you've segmented out the orders, I think, and you've got that separated from quotes or tracking details or invoice inquiries, I think it's going to accelerate the order. And as quoted by one of our customers in the food manufacturer space, they indicated it used to take them hours to process 100-line invoices or 100 orders. Now they're able to literally do it in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
Technology allows for you to push that and have confidence that the data being pushed is accurate. And I think with faster inquiries, the use of Chat GPT, it's definitely a huge topic right now
Hmm.
around Chat GPT. I think it helps your CSRs, your customer service members, take those inquiries and more accurately analyze sentiment associated to the incoming inquiry, allows for you to extract information that they're requesting, also extract that information from other systems and push back a response in a timely capacity. Not to mention, obviously, if you're getting anything wrong in regards to that order, and now you're dealing with a return material authorization request or needing to reship, it just helps you from a claim perspective
Yeah.
bring resolution quicker.
Well, and I love that you use the word confidence, right? Because we definitely want to
Mhm.
give confidence back to our teams in understanding how this can actually help us. All right, Matt, take us into better accuracy. This is reason number 2.
Yeah, so just being able to, if you're working through a shared inbox, being able to identify and route every order, regardless of format, to the appropriate queue for digital processing. We see a lot of different document types come in through a shared inbox, like shared customer service inbox. Is it an order? Is it a claim? Is it a shipping, update request? What is it? So being able to, or is it an invoice request? That's not customer service. That's accounting, probably someone in finance.
Right.
So being able to
Somebody
identify,
else's
yeah,
problem
yeah,
today.
that's over here. That's that guy. So being able to accurately identify that and then route it to the right people, that's important to digitally, do that with technology. I mean, there's some simple email routing rules, but th- those don't those don't really scrape the surface based on what technology is available now today. Um, when we're talking about orders, extracting that relevant order data and verifying it against the ERP master data,
Mhm.
detecting those potential anomalies along the way, whether it's, fat fingering or whether it's potential fraud, allowing that accuracy. Like, humans probably can't even detect a fraudulent PO potentially, but, with
Hmm.
big data and, algorithms, you can. So,
Yeah. And
uh,
being at that cybersecurity conference, they were talking about this specifically is that, if you do have those manual processes, you're going to have to teach everybody along the line what that red flag is to be
right,
like, no, this is not what we want. Or
right,
you can utilize technology to really help with that.
for sure.
All right, so let's talk about visibility. Sarah, talk to us about visibility. I mean, this is a big stat, but talk to us about how AI and automation can help with that.
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is availability. It's not uncommon right now. We're hearing from people that we're working with that a customer will place an order and they're not the only one the order was, placed with. So being able to, with confidence say, "Yep, I have the items you've requested," and getting those out as efficiently and with as minimalized cost as possible, I think is really important. But the other piece is that priority. Obviously, if you've got an order coming in and it's got any type of a tight request delivery date for that priority, customers perhaps are requesting it with urgency to go to a different or separate location that it would normally be shipped to. Being able to recognize, validate that, again, as mentioned, you don't want it going to a new address that's now in error, or maybe it's not even your end customer. Somebody has gotten in and done something that they're trying to order product off of your bankroll. It allows for service level agreement compliance in that area to be met. Obviously, you're front of mind. How quick is it taking me to process an order? How quick is it taking me to respond to an inquiry? Meeting those timelines, I think, it's really important in this space.
Yeah, all great options there. Now, last but not least, Matt, take us through improved business growth and resiliency and how we can use AI and automation for that.
Thank you. So I think, how do we improve this B2B customer service, and use that to create a more efficient supply chain, by reducing bottlenecks, spotting those, avoiding those black holes that we talked about. And I think in order to get to that improved growth and resiliency, really need to improve, im- processing speeds. Gotta increase those. Use technology where it makes sense to increase those and allow people to handle what makes sense for them. Um, Probably able to lower some operational costs as well. If you're investing in technology, there's the potential to, lower operational costs if that's part of your goal. Not all companies leverage technology that way. Certainly, there's potential for it, but others use it to empower and expand, skill sets. Um, Obviously, better reporting and visibility into all aspects of the supply chain and your customer service departments. And really, at the end of the day, I mean, comes down to better customer relationships. Without your customer relationships, your business is not going to thrive. And so leveraging technology in order to help improve those customer relationships. I know, also expanding into new markets. Sometimes if you're so focused on serving your current market or your current business set, you're limited into the expansion efforts you can have. So, being able to spend more time into those new businesses or markets. For example, one of our customers, RG Group, they were able to use automation to their benefit. Beyond just increased response times of customers, it's made basically their entire organization more healthy and efficient. So that's what they got out of our technology.
Awesome. Now we're going to talk about how it boosts customer satisfaction, but we do have some questions coming in. And this one does reflect on what we're talking about in the moment. So we're not sure we can go full automation right away. Is it possible to start at a lower level of automation and expand to full automation later? Who wants to take that one?
I can give a go at it. I would certainly say the answer is 100% yes. Uh, Certainly, what we see often is folks will start out with maybe a subset of their business and give it a test run there, and then sort of expand it into another business unit or another, market, whatever it might be. So certainly, we see them take, some baby steps into getting that comfort. Also, just seeing, sometimes we call it like a co-pilot. So letting AI kind of do its job, and then having a human verify before you turn on sort of like a
Mm.
full end-to-end automation. So there's definitely ways you can dip your toes before just
Testing ground.
slamming the foot on the gas pedal.
I love that. And Federico, I see your question, and we're going to get to that question just in a little bit. And I think when we think about boosting customer satisfaction, Sarah, we're going to leave that to the ebook because that's a piece of the ebook that we are not going to share with you today because we want you to go and read that ebook. So let's sort of, talk about the key to what you do at Esker and how you help with some of these things. So, what does the Esker platform look like, and how does it pull everything we've talked about together?
Yeah, I think this will answer also a question out there. I think Federico is asking, do you expect the P2P to have similar challenges? So certainly we do. So that's one of the things that Esker does do is the full source to pay as well as order to cash type modules.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely we have a full, sourcing, whether it's sourcing and procurement you're looking for up front to help those processes out, or whether it's, using accounts payable automation to help improve those workflows and do that automatic three-way matching and things like that, and leveraging, AI technology in that manner. So certainly we see the impact on the P2P side as well as beyond just orders, managing credit up front, whether it's delivering invoices, or often we see, it's sad when you have to go and have those awkward conversations with customers who aren't paying, but empowering your team to have those conversations through our collections management module, helping them have those conversations with the right folks at the right time.
Hmm.
And then my favorite, cash application. I mean, we're talking about that thing is ripe for automation. I mean, computers very good at it. Humans very, very dull, long process. Uh, Computers knock it out of the park. So that's kind of the broad spectrum of what Esker covers for business processes, and definitely can help you, Federico, on the P2P side as well.
Well, and nobody wants awkward conversations. I mean, let's just be honest.
For
Nobody
sure,
wants to have
for
them. We
sure.
really should be eliminating them anyways. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And thank you for your question, Federico. Now, Sarah, what problems do customers typically come to you with?
It's amazing, but sometimes, Sarah, they don't know what their problems are until they talk through it. Sometimes, I liken it to when you go to the doctor. You got a bum knee, but it's because something's going, wonky with your foot, or you got a headache, and your headache's a direct correlation to something that's going on in your neck. But I think some of the big ones are really just looking to remove the touch,
Mhm.
keying things with greater accuracy. So if you can touch it less and do it more accurate, I think those are the two big ones. And then right behind it, I think people want to understand their key performance indicators, those KPIs. They want to understand the numbers that matter to them dependent of their department and role. So,
Mhm.
whether it be, a request around AP and Frederico's question, or it's something around Hannah's question, can we help in a smaller way and make something on a grander um, platform at a later date? I think the answer is yes. And I think the big one is there's a lot of inquiry. People want to be kept knowledgeable of what's going on, no matter what the process is. They
Yeah.
want to know when they're going to get paid if it's an AP. You want to know when you're going to get paid if you're in collections. You want to make sure that you're applying your cash correctly, or that you're getting those orders correctly, input into the ERP. So I think that just the general communication, the portal fatigue, the inquiry fatigue.
Yeah, well, and you want to also have that data at your fingertips very
Yes.
easily, right? We want to make it simple and easy so that we can all go and make the most out of our lives and the jobs that we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Now, if you have any questions at all, now is the time to put it in the comments because we only have 10 minutes left for this discussion and it's getting lively in the comments. So we definitely want to hear from you. Put your question in those comments so that we can get to it today. And again, if you just joined us, we are giving away an ebook. So make sure to comment or ask a question so that we know that you attended and we can send that over to you. Now, another question for you, Sarah. How do you work with customers to help them embrace the power of automation for that successful customer experience?
You know, customers are looking to mitigate risks associated with miskeyed orders or misshipped orders or items that are missing those service level agreements, SLAs, the acronyms. So I think many of those struggles, you know, because they're front of mind, or maybe it's just keeping enough people in chairs throughout your organization to handle the process. Maybe they're not literally in a chair, maybe they're in the warehouse fulfilling from a supply chain perspective, but not having enough bodies. And in a world where I think that Amazon experience is really driving the expectation that our customers have, I think we are very lucky that a lot of people realize that technology might be the way to solve for that, and that ultimately change must happen. There's a greater acceptance for change when you realize all of the struggles that you might be up against.
Yeah. Well, and all the benefits it can come with. Now, Matt, I want to ask
Mhm.
you a question. Can you give us a really quick example or case study of when you've worked with somebody and how much, benefit or ROI they got from it? And then we're going to go to the audience questions.
Yeah, so this is just a quick quote from IBC Global Solutions. Esker allows us to be very accurate with our orders. Customers are receiving their orders faster, and we are spending less time processing them and correcting errors. Everybody wins. And I think that relates to kind of a concept we have at Esker called positive sum growth. you know, some people look at the world and they see a pie and how to divvy it up, but we see a pie and we think, how can we make it bigger? How can we make sure
Uh-huh.
everybody wins? So what's that positive sum growth look like? And I think that that's what we're looking to unlock when we're doing business with various companies. And certainly we have lots of specific case studies, lots of good results. So if there's a specific vertical you're in and a specific type of solution you're looking for help with, drop it in the chat and we'll make sure we can get you the proper information.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. All right. So, one of the questions that we have is from Jessica. Which process improvement have you seen to be the most effective when implemented first? This is a great question because usually when I talk about technology, it's kind of like, I love everything about it, but where do I start? So, I really, really love this question. Who wants to answer that one?
I think I'll go first. And I know today's conversation's been around supply chain and around customer service. And I think back to what Matt just said, when you think about positive sum growth in the big picture, I think it's different depending on where in your role lies within an organization. So, Frederica, sorry to use you again, but like when you talk the AP world, I think for most businesses right now, it's AP getting visibility, not losing the options to pay things early if you want, being able to track or get those approvals out. I think if you go back into like accounts receivable, some might argue it's probably collections. You've got to be able to collect effectively, or you're going to fail miserably. And then I think from a customer service perspective, a couple years it would have probably just been order, order, order. I think there's a huge shift towards the inquiry component of order, 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 and recognizing that people really want answers to things like, where's my shipment? Can I get this item? Can you give me a price on said item? So that would be my feedback in that space.
Did you want to add anything, Matt?
I would just say in general, the best process improvement is to analyze your current process and think about it.
Hmm.
Like, is there a reason we do it this way, or is it because, Ken 20 years ago said this is the way we should do it, and we haven't investigated since. So I think before you try to automate any process, you really need to have a deep look and decide, is this a process we even want to automate, or do we need to
That
rethink
is
this
so
whole thing?
true. Yeah, and you don't want to take away the personalized aspect either, right? So which process are we improving, and do we really want to automate it, and is it going to take away from some of our personalized experience as well? That is something that I'm even asking myself in my business at the moment, and that's why I know so much about it. So one last question is around the 6 challenges we discussed earlier, the errors, and high costs, et cetera, et cetera. Is there one that you would focus on first? Is there one that's been proven to be more of an issue?
I think that's going to be variable depending on the business,
Mhm.
and again, you
True.
might not recognize it. Maybe you recognize it and it's an issue because of something else. One might be impacting another segment, or there might be bleed over. But for me, I think all of them might be within some organizations. Some might only have some, and I don't think that any one of them is more important if at the end of the day it keeps you up. And it
Yeah.
costs you business.
Yeah, it's true. All right, one last question for you both. What is one thing you would like the audience to walk away from this discussion, either to take action on or maybe to think more about? Matt, I'm going to start with you and then go to Sarah.
Yeah, I would just start, you know, if you haven't used automation yet and you're opposed to artificial intelligence, I would just say, approach it with a more open mind. I think that the tools used in the right way can really help empower your organizations. So I would just take a step back and start thinking about what type of processes would it make sense for your organization to
Mhm.
take a crack at automating, and then start making a plan to have the conversations with the right people to help you see what's out there and achieve those potential goals.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm looking at is an optimizer, somebody to sit down and go through the processes like inch by inch of what people are doing so that you can really like drive deeper into that process and really understand where you want to automate. Sarah, final word. What do you want people to walk away with?
I think you need to ask yourself the question, why now? And as you ask yourself the why now, and you start to determine the value of the difference, and the value over time, you need to identify, how will you measure that success? Am I willing to make
Mhm.
the change? And ask yourself those questions. And unfortunately, it may require you to also ask that question of your colleagues or others that also have to accept the change.
All right, one last quick audience question. Alvaro, is Esker currently collaborating with any Amazon sellers? Matt, Sarah?
I am not certain for that one. We can certainly take a
So we're going
look.
to look into it and get back to them.
Definitely look into it.
All right. Well, as consumers, we've all experienced the Amazon effect, getting unrivaled visibility, predictability, and convenience with everything that we order. And so, of course, many B2B customers now also expect their experience to be closer to a consumer one. The problem, though, is that a lot of supply chain organizations just haven't caught up. Manual processes and Excel spreadsheets don't make for a speedy, satisfying customer experience, especially when you're uploading, downloading, uploading, downloading. I'm just going to leave you with that. So, automation solutions are essential for not only enabling fast and accurate delivery of goods, but also giving customers the self service tools they need to work effectively. And Esker's AI driven technology is designed to do just that, empowering every stakeholder while promoting long term value creation. Remember, we are going to be giving you an ebook, 5 Reasons Supply Chain Leaders Should Care About B2B Customer Service Automation. So, look out for that. We'll also send you the recording of this too. But visit Esker, ESKER.com to find out more and grab some super helpful resources as well. Thank you so much to Sarah and Matt for joining me. I really enjoyed the conversation. I mean, customer service is such a varied and interesting topic. This live show could easily turn into a series. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. So, Sarah and Matt, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks for having us. Have a great day.
Thank you for having
Take care,
us.
everyone. See you next time.